All right, already in week 4, which is kind of amazing to me. It's going by very quickly. I'm anxious to see your work that you did together in your group and look at those this week. This week you're going to be working on your essential questions, and this really is part of your backwards lesson design that you're planning out. So think of that as you're making your essential questions for your unit. So 3 to 5 questions that go with your unit. And then I think in week 8 you're doing an assessment plan. So kind of get an idea of what you want to do all together. I assume you're doing this for next year. So obviously we don't have time in this year for you to do it with kids this year. So it could be something you want to do next year. I don't expect you to do it with kids because they're leaving. When you're thinking of open-ended questions, or when you're thinking of essential questions, you want to make sure that they're open-ended, that they're thought-provoking, that they're higher order. It's not something you can answer with yes or no. They should have to have evidence or support to show why they have that answer. And it's something that, an essential question is something that should stay with you into an adulthood. It's not something that you answer in 4th grade and you're done with that question, you never think about it again. So it's a concept that you will be dealing with all your life as an adult, and how you redefine that and go through it. So I was thinking of some examples of it. You could say an essential question would be, is there ever a just war? You have to really come up with a lot of evidence to support that, of why or why not you believe that, instead of saying, what were the triggering events of World War I? Those are 2 different kinds of things, okay? What influences people for creative expression? That's an essential question, rather than categorize these types of work into the time periods that they were developed. Okay, so you think about like little kids, you could have something like, why do people move? Instead of, what are the events in the westward expansion? So think of those big ideas. You're not going to have a lot of these in your unit. You're going to have 3 to 5. You're not going to go beyond 5, because those kind of questions require a lot of thought and a lot of discussion, a lot of thinking. So it's not something they're going to be doing quickly. I used to do The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I used to teach 6th grade a long time ago. And we used to talk about, what is a hero? What defines a hero? And is a hero the same in other cultures? Because since I was teaching 6th grade, we also had mythology that we had brought in. So we talked about the mythology of a hero in like Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology, and how did that relate to the hero in Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. They really got into that. They're pretty smart about that. We also talked about, why do people change? And is it possible for people to change, or are you the same your whole life? What motivates people to change? And we also looked at defining evil. Is evil the same? Can we all define evil the same way? So those were the big essential questions I used to do with my 6th graders, and it was great. They had great ideas and great discussions, and then they would have to bring in examples from the book and what they thought about them, instead of just reading the book and answering the questions and doing a diorama. You're looking for them to think, and that's really what you're looking for when you're doing backwards design. So when you are thinking about backwards design, you're thinking about the very first thing. What do you want them to know? What is it that you want kids to learn from this unit? How are you going to measure that? So what examples of assessment, or how will they demonstrate that they've learned this? Is it they're writing a paper? Is it that they're doing a project at the end? Are they doing a presentation? How will they demonstrate their learning? And then you're going to be planning the experiences for them to get that learning and develop as they move on through this unit. So that's backwards design. You probably are familiar with it. It's kind of old. It used to be the cutting edge stuff. I think it's about 20 years old now, so you probably have been working with this a little bit. And as you're thinking about it, since we're in technology, you're going to think of ways to integrate technology in a meaningful way into your unit. Don't just, we're going to go to this website. In a meaningful way. So maybe your project is the kids are developing a video, or there's lots of different ways to get information from children besides just pen and pencil. So think about that. You're reading Unit 6 this time, and it's about curriculum design, and it kind of goes very deep into stuff. One of the quotes I liked was, education exists within the chaos, which anybody this time of year completely understands. There's a lot of chaos going on, but hopefully we're getting an education in there someplace. They talked about the curriculum and design is not stagnant. You're not like an architect building a house. This unit that you're building will be something that you hopefully use again, but you change up and you develop it as you go. As you get to know your kids better, you understand the age of the child, because what a fourth grader can understand concept-wise is way different than what 11th grader can understand concept-wise. So think about the age of your child as you're developing this out. They talked about the sequence of learning, and my favorite way to learn is from whole to part. I like the big picture. Tell me the big picture first, and then we can get down to the details. But not everybody learns that way. So as you're designing, don't just design the way you like to learn. Think about how your kids need to learn. They talked about in depth the interdisciplinary design, and they talked about it, the roads and field design, which I'd never heard it called that before. But I think that's a very common way to design curriculum, especially, it was the 1950s, but I think that's a very common way, especially with Common Core standards, that we are designing units for our kids. You know, it's interdisciplinary, not just language arts, but you're putting science and social studies and math to make it more meaningful for kids so they can make those connections. They also talked about correlation design, and I thought that was really interesting that they said very few people do it. If you've ever gone to GATE training and used the gifted and talented icons, where they talk about overarching ideas for you would use an idea for the entire semester or the entire year. So you might talk about patterns and structure in math, in language arts, in science. That would be your concept for the whole year, and making those connections for kids. So that's really good training. If you ever get a chance to go to that kind of training, it's great because it makes you think of bigger ideas and how to incorporate those into the deep thinking for kids. So there's patterns, structures, rules, trends, ethics, unanswered questions, point of view. You look it up online, you can find a lot of things on gifted and talented icons, but the training is very good to go with it. So start thinking about that backwards design unit that you're going to be doing. You're going to have about 5 different lessons in there. There's a template that goes with it, and if you need it, you can download it from it, but if you need it, just email me and I'll send it to you too, because I downloaded it. You probably want to decide if you're going to do your curriculum as subject-centered, learner-centered, or problem-centered. I think most of us are very comfortable with the subject-centered, but if you want to try something a little bit different and try problem-centered, I think was a lot of good things on that in our chapter this week. So challenge yourself a little bit and do something different. All right, looking forward to seeing you in the discussion board this week, and hopefully you're having a nice holiday. Thanks.